everyone to my LinkedIn Live Lunch and Learn session focused on HR and people analytics topics. My name is Nicolas Pevani. I'm People Analytics Leader, LinkedIn Top Voice. I'm very glad to host this amazing LinkedIn Live. We are 11 July, and we have with us some new guests today. Um, George Kemisha, of course, you know him very well. He's with me every Friday. HR strategist, thought leader, semi-retired, but shaping the future of HR. He's consultant in the Middle East company. Good afternoon, George. How are you?
I'm fine. A little bit warm.
Better than last week, right?
Oh, a lot better than last week.
What? Thank you so much, George. Welcome to this session. We have, or I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Micheline EL Housseini Timbrell for a powerful discussion on leadership. Welcome to the show, Micheline. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Hello, Nicolas again. Hello, George, and hello, everyone. Very much looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you. Us as well, Micheline. Micheline is the founder and CEO of Phi Management, firm specializing in leadership assessment and development with offices in Beirut, that you are there today, Riyadh, and London. She's leadership and strategy expert with amazing track record in coaching senior executive and helping organization measure what matters. Micheline brings over 25 years of experience working with C-suite and senior executive leader, and she's a very great, guest for me to discuss about the today topic that is about, it will explore during this 1 hour about evaluate leadership, not just by titles or tenure, but how leaders shape teams, drive outcome, and inspire change. We'll be together during 1 hour. It's a lunchtime here in Europe, Paris time. It's afternoon for you, Micheline, in Beirut and in other countries. The perfect moment if you are working from home or you are working from the office to take a break, to deep dive into a conversation that shape the future of work. This is a space for learning, conversation, and also networking. So I really encourage you to connect if it's not there with Micheline, in order to to get a connection with her, to have a networking. Share also your thoughts and questions throughout this session. Don't forget, this discussion will be recorded. If you miss anything, you can catch up later in LinkedIn Live. Also, partner with me and also in my YouTube page. Uh, we will go, Micheline. First question, will open question I can give you is about leadership. With a big picture, I would like to start. Why is measuring leadership effectiveness more important today than ever?
Well, it's very much important today more than ever because before we were just talking about the leader, the charismatic, all these traits, they are not really measured. So it's nice to have. And we say like he's charismatic, he's nice, he's compassionate, but it wasn't at that time very much linked to the organizational strategy, needs, and priorities. And this is why leadership effectiveness is becoming very, very much important.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Micheline, for this introduction. I love that. I love that because it's important, to first of all, to show why it's important before going to the deeper. If you have any question, just a reminder, please put it in the chat. I'm looking at the chat. I will, show the relevant, question that you have. Let's, first discuss about where are you, our incredible audience, are joining us. Please put the comments, your location in the comments. So we'd love to see our global audience. Me, I'm in Paris, Micheline from Beirut, and George from UK. Please drop your location in the chat. I would like to start, Micheline, if you're okay, with one point. It's about trust. I shared this in my LinkedIn page. One post about trust. I think it's important, trust level. How much is trust around leadership and organization? And one research about Gallup found that trust level is low among leaders, and and you see that in the percentage is dropping each year, and now it's around 21% of trust. It's a powerful visualization about underscore a growing trust gap between in our workplaces. In light of these trends, Micheline, I would love to hear your perspective about what strategies can leaders implement today to rebuild and sustain genuine trust with their teams after such fluctuation over the past decade. And first of all, this graph, this percentage, is it? Do you feel that is correct in your real life, your real work that you are doing?
Um, I'm not surprised, I have to say, with the figures. There is a tremendous drop after COVID, if we can notice that. And I believe we are really witnessing the most disengaged period we have seen. I was expecting that the drop will go deeper during a pandemic, but if you can notice that, it's really now it's going deeper after pandemic. The value of trust is very important on a personal level. If you don't trust a person on an individual level, there is no relationship. There is no healthy relationship. At the same time, is for organization. So trust is a key driver for boosting performance and very much a key driver for engagement in organization. And when we say trust, we're expecting these indicators like transparency in decisions, so leaders were expecting them not to change their decision from one day to another. Also, consistency in their communication, but also consistency in their leadership. So these are the most important for us indicators that leaders need really to put in place when it comes to building their trust. And another point is very important is accountability. If leaders they are not accountable and responsible for their mistakes, we will go into an organizational culture where there is no trust among C-suite leaders and employees or managers.
Love that. Love that. Thank you, Micheline, for sharing that this insight. Absolutely, as you see, after pandemic, the trust in organization is really important. Employee trust, and there is a lot of way to measure that, but it's not the topic of today. Regarding my question about the people in our audience, we have people from your country and you live Lebanon, and there are a lot of person from Beirut, from Lebanon, from London, from UK, from Belgium as well. Welcome, Honey from Belgium, and we have a lot of so global. And I'm glad that in all the lunch and learn that I have every Friday, a lot of people are coming from everyone, everywhere in the countries. Uh, I have one question. First question related to this topic about Alan. Do you think that the pandemic galvanized us, but now the return to reality has bitten into trust? What is your point of view, Micheline? Great
I'm,
question.
yeah, it's just my own take on that. That after the pandemic, leaders they had some takeaways and they started really to implement some strategic action to gain their trust. However, in my opinion, it wasn't really sustainable. And this is why, and it wasn't really well structured and rooted. And this is why we are seeing now that we are witnessing that decline in trust. And this is where really we hear now about the great resignation. There is a burnout. We feel mentally that employees are really drained. And this is the lack of connection between the high level, the C suite, and the base and the employees. And there is this misalignment, in my opinion, between really what the C-suite messages are sending and what they are doing and their actions.
Love that. Love that. Absolutely. The gap is very important that you have highlighted between the C-suite, and there is another, research about the gap between what employee thinks and what C-suite thinks.
Nicholas, if I might say, I always look at trust as an analogy or an image where you are as an employee in the driving, in a car, and really you cannot see the road because of the fog, but you trust the driver. And this is what is not happening. Employees are not trusting the driver, taking them as a safe journey.
Love that. Love this analogy between, the leaders as the drivers and the employees as the passengers. Thank you, Micheline, for this amazing, analogy. Thank you so much for, and Alan is perfectly, thanks you for this, answer. Thank you as well, Micheline. Amazing insight. So, like Alan, if you have any question, please put in the chat, and I will bring during our, this session and during this session. So I will go, Micheline, about another topic that I would like, to discuss with you. Is about performance and critical behavior that will shift dramatically the leaders' overall effectiveness. We are talking about effectiveness. Some research, and one research is this one that I have shared already in LinkedIn, illustrate how elevating just one behavior from poor to excellent can boost overall leadership impact by 73%. Micheline, here's my question for you, and I'm sure that you are very familiar with this kind of chart.
Yeah.
What practical steps can leaders or HR leaders can take to identify which single behavior will unlock the greatest effectiveness gain in their organization, and then ensure that excellent performance becomes the new norm?
Yeah, first of all, I fully agree. It's a very, very interesting research that deserves really further follow up, because it's not anymore about well-rounded leadership. Before we were thinking like you need to be average in all the competencies. But now this research, what is telling us that it's a strength-based leadership. So if you are really scoring in one top, it's affecting the rest of the behaviors and the traits. Going back to your question, what organization need to know to select, this was your question, no?
Yeah.
To identify which one?
Exactly. So how we can, step can take, which one, because, all the each organization is different, right? So what is, for you as a practitioner, etc., practical steps, and how they can define this, behavior that can elevate this leadership effectiveness?
Great. But before that, I would like to clarify what are the 7 behaviors, or you prefer we move on directly to?
No. You can. We can just, answer this question, and then we will spend time for the 7.
Yeah. What is amazing in this research is that the 7 traits or actions are all related to people. So it's under people leadership, not business leadership. So we're talking here about giving feedback, the maturity to receive feedback, working with team, empathy, emotional intelligence, and all that. And when it comes to people leadership, the way we work on it is like, absolutely, the process that we are having here in front of us is like having a very proper analysis, understanding the population, understanding their needs, their profile. But before that is very much understanding the context where we are operating, the industry, the market trends, all these things. Then we go down into the population and understanding really the criteria and the dimensions we would like to measure. So which one among these will be an exercise done with senior leadership by going into a very thorough exercise and giving a weight for each one of them by mapping these competencies to the profile of the population, but also to the needs and priorities and the strategic initiatives and directions of the organization. And believe me, it's very different from one context to another. So in one organization, maybe they are risk averse. One action will have a weight which will be completely different when it is in a different context, different market, different country.
Love that. Love that. Thank you for sharing this information. Very, very helpful. I see that, in our audience, we have a lot of people coming from all around the world. We have Africa is in Nigeria, from Iran, we have from Madrid. So a lot of people, and I'm sure that it will be works what you are saying here. Its impact, it's beyond the frontiers, right? So it's apply for any leadership. One another topic that I would like to discuss with you, Micheline, is this chart about effective leadership. And there was another study that I have shared, some times ago in LinkedIn, that found that high performing top teams have top teams' ability to act and behave as collective, right? So these kind of teams certainly have a great individual leader to lead, coach, but it's not the most important trait. So the most effective leadership demonstrate five observable behaviors that are here: direction, discipline, dynamism, drive, and most important of that, collaboration. So Micheline, here's my question for you. Based upon your experience, what are the most effective levers organization can pull to shift from a hero leader mindset to one collective leadership, in your view?
I'm sorry, it was breaking. Could
Sorry,
you?
so I will repeat. In your view, based upon your experience,
Yeah.
what are the most effective levers organization can pull to shift from the hero leader, right?
From the,
Hero leader, that's one leader mindset,
yes.
to move to collective leadership. Do you agree about that? First of all,
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
your experience?
Yeah. As a systemic team coach, when I work with teams, I can see the impact by far more than one. As an executive coach, I work with individuals. So definitely it has many advantages. So I fully agree with that. It's very powerful. Why is that? Because when you work with teams together, why the impact is there is that it blends diverse capability. You're having different functions. You have the commercial, you have the operation, you have the HR, the strategy, but also it is a joint ownership of outcomes. So you don't have silos, and encourage cross-functional alignments between all the departments. So I love the multiple perspective that teams bring. And it's not only one person, but also the advantage, Nicolas, is that it reduces risk because it's all of us, we are making a decision,
Mhm.
but also it creates a lot of innovation.
Amazing. Um, Amazing. I'm looking at the chat. Also, to look at what is their uh, what they think about our audience about leadership, and it's important to also look at the individual star is also not really needed for to succeed in a team, in a performance of the team.
Mm.
More about collective leadership, collective mindset is for me, is also for you as well, as you said, is important. Thank you, Micheline, for this important part. Another study I would like to highlight here is about purposeful leadership, importance of leadership purpose, right? The power of purpose in leadership as you see in this slide, is showing that 7 times more likely to feel energized people that they have the leaders that are purposeful. 6 times more likely to take accountability for their team success. 3 times more likely to stay within their organization. So it prevents them to go to other organization. A striking reminder that purpose isn't nice to have, but it's a catalyst for
Yeah.
engagement, right? For retention, for ownership. Micheline, I have one question for you. What practical step can leaders take today to spark genuine sense of purpose? Do you do you believe that this purpose is important?
Of course, absolutely. Is like, and it's very much today is about me as a leader asking myself why I lead. And it's very much, am I here to achieve targets, to work with dashboard or with people? So I have a mission, I have a certain reason. This is purpose leadership is I have a reason based on my own values, my personal values, my principles that will affect the way I manage my business. So leaders, purposeful leaders are very transparent. For example, they will say things even if it's harsh or hard to hear, but also they behave the same in public and in private. And this is where I love this value is demonstrating a certain integrity. We need to know that purposeful leadership, uh, it has a direct impact, Nicholas, like you mentioned, on teams and on employee morale and engagement. How it generates obviously trust, but alignment. So teams are more likely to follow purposeful leaders than others because of authenticity, especially with all the changes happening nowadays in uncertain environment. And there are a lot of research lately that showed that it drives retention within the organization. So high potential, employees are more likely to leave organization, unfortunately, when they don't feel that sense of purpose.
Amazing. Love that. Love that what you are saying. And do you think that more and more leaders are not this criteria of purposeful are hard to find? Is it, and what is the reason why is they are less purposeful for you?
Yeah, there are thank you for the question. I believe with all the changes happening around us, we are unfortunately becoming very much business driven. And we are very much, as leaders, going into achieving results, looking at data, which is very important today, business development, growing the business. And along the way, we are losing that sense of purpose, which is very much related to people, very much related to our core values as a human. And and yes, definitely, I think it's becoming more and more difficult today to apply. And I have to say something, it's not something easy to assess when it comes to leadership, because we will be talking later on about assessment and assessing leadership when it comes to values, authenticity, emotional intelligence, empathy. All this will become much more difficult when you want to assess than business strategy or decision making or other leadership competencies.
No, love that what you are saying, because last week we discussed about skills of the future, and
Yeah.
that was one point about the what leaders needs also to know. I have one comment here: value, as you said rightly, value of the concept of authenticity, of humanity in leadership. I think this is a differentiator for the future. Do you agree with this comment about Honey that put in the comment of authenticity in leadership?
I value of course, it's being yourself. And I believe authenticity is very much linked to integrity, is walking the talk, is being a role model, and as leader, it's very much important to create that environment, that culture that encourage authenticity. And practically, how do we do that? Is by walking the talk and being the role model in front of our teams. So I fully agree with him, of course.
Wonderful, wonderful, Micheline. Thank you, Annie, for putting your comment here.
And Alan, I agree, is being more human in leadership. This is what today we needed, without mentioning also the AI coming in and all that. So it's a very, very important point that we need to discuss, of course.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another topic I would like to discuss with you, and is important, very important as well, is about the decline of the workplace uh,
Mm,
authenticity. Because since 2022, it's 2020, sorry, leaders at every level, frontline, mid-level, senior, have experienced a sharp decline in their connection to purpose at work. The impact is most severe at the front line, exposing a growing divide across leadership tiers, as you are seeing here. So, as you see, this gap is more and
yeah.
more. Micheline, given that frontline leaders have the felt purpose that was, you know, eroded most sharply since 20,
Mm,
um, what bold steps or advice can organization take to 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 increase this level of
yeah.
um, or to stop this decline of the
Yeah.
connection for those in frontline leaders, but also those in C level, as you have the experience of that.
Yeah, I would like to say among all the slides you shared, this is the most concerning for me. It's just it's a bit shocking looking at the C-suite on their ivory tower. I would understand if we're talking about boards and executives, but here we're talking about C-suites and management.
Yeah,
So it's very silos. And this is here where they are leading. I can imagine them in their meeting room, sitting, looking at the Excel sheet and the dashboard and not the people. So it shows, your slide showed, Nicolas, this misalignment, and there is no buy-in whatsoever. And if I have to do a quick assessment here, is like, obviously there's a discrepancy in communication, so it's not being cascaded between the C-suite and management, and there is this cultural disconnect as seen on the slide. So for sure, this will affect the employee engagement and retention. There is no doubt on that. In this particular case, I would say reality check, definitely. So we would recommend first is to look closely to the culture of this organization. What's happening in this organization? How people communicate to each others? What are the channels of communication being used? To what extent seniors are accountable to their decision, but how are they motivating, engaging managers to really follow them in that vision or in that direction? So I'm really questioning the strategic communication. There is a work to be done here. The dialogue, I would say, at all organization levels and cross-functional. So it's a cultural issue to work on culture, accountability, strategic communication, to sit together around the table. If you ask me about now what tools to be used, out of my mind, I would say engagement survey. Just we would go into 360. We would go, but personally, I like very much the focus groups. I like more than going into a digital technical tool. I love when people sit together and facilitate that conversation, like what's going on. Things are not going well.
absolutely. Love that. Love your recommendation about culture gap. Absolutely. And you see, years after years, we see this gap is going growing, and
Yeah,
35%, 67 is a lot, as you said, and we have, yeah,
I
and
have a
we,
question for you here, if you may. For this research, for the legend, like, do we know, is it in particular market? Is it in particular region?
yeah, mainly it was in US, if I'm not wrong.
With
I
the US, yeah.
Yeah, it was US, but if I'm remembering well, it's a global. No, the DDI, sorry,
Mm.
the DDI is a global survey in some countries, but it depends on the data. Yeah, I agree with you, but I guess it's cross.
I fully agree. I'm sure that, and from my experience, and I'm sure from the audience experience, that we're not surprised. It is sad, it is concerning, but I believe we're not surprised. And the question is, where are we heading? In
Yeah,
few years' time, what is going to happen more than this? And this is why we're saying the great resignation and psychological safety and all these now topics coming,
yeah.
because people are not happy. As simple as that.
Exactly, Micheline. We have a lot of questions in the chat, which we will try, to answer all of them. One question: how do you reconcile moments when your leadership purpose clashes with business goals or stakeholder expectation? What is your thought about that, Micheline?
This is very tough, because if it was a misalignment in the way I solve a problem, or I make a decision, or a strategic initiative or direction, I would say this is very easy. But when it comes to values,
Yeah,
this is the real clash. And this is where, when we sit with people and they decide to leave,
yeah,
most of the people they decide to leave, it is because the values between, in the culture of that organization, the values between my personal values and the organization values, they are not aligned. So most of the time people would leave. I don't want to become to be pessimistic on that. Definitely the first attempt to be is to dig more, to understand, because every company, hopefully organization, they have their own organizational values. So what are the indicators, what are the behaviors that we are expecting people to display, so we know that really they have these values within the organization? And this is where we start the conversation. Is it integrity? Is it disrespect? Is it quality? Many other values that might have the clash between employees and employer, unfortunately.
love that, Micheline. Thank you so much. I hope that Andre, Micheline has answered your question very well. Another question from Zulmai Kudrat. Um, he, he said, as you also mentioned, that the leader should have reason, purpose, and principle. What about the leader reason and goal is in conflict with employee objective? If so, how you will manage it as a leader? Great question, by the way.
Yeah, so just to recap, if my understanding is that in case leaders, they have a certain goals,
Yeah,
and
and
it,
it's not the same as the employees objective. So there is a gap, as you see, as also is related to this graph as well. The job purposeful is not the same. How we can close, because we can never close completely, but how we can have the same, basically. Correct me if I'm not wrong. If you're in the same company, we are in the same
mm,
company and same goal, we should have all employees and leaders
yes.
the same goals, right? If I'm
Yeah,
not
and
wrong.
this is what I wanted to, I fully agree with you. And this is what would be my question, reverse of the question is like, usually in organization, when C-suite or senior leadership, they set the business goals, it should be aligned with the employee goals, needs, priorities, and the organization needs and priorities. But what the gentleman is mentioning, it might happen, this clash between C-suite goals, and usually it's driving business, achieving KPIs, making more money to the organization, business growth,
Yeah,
and the employees, they have completely different, and this is the clash.
yeah,
And what do we do to answer him directly is I strongly believe in one thing. It might sound cliche, but
Yeah.
this is for me is the thing is really communication, strategic communication, sitting with people, explaining, facilitating discussions, making focus group, listening to their concerns, and sometimes explaining to them why these goals are to their benefit. This is what is really matters, because sometimes when we work with organization, it's the clarity that is missing more than the lack of communication. Unfortunately, sometimes C-suite, they make assumptions that of course they know, of course they understand when we challenge them. And this is where we need really this alignment in communication is crucial, in my opinion.
Love that. Love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Communication is always, is a solution for a lot of issues in organization between employees, C-suite, and also manager, as you correctly said. I would like, yeah, please.
I just need to say that it is also very valuable that senior leadership from time to time sit again with employees and remind them about the journey, like to sit together and to put for them where we are heading and discuss the challenges, the setbacks, the drawbacks, all the problems, and to be adaptable throughout the journey, to listen to them and to change accordingly. And it's not like fait accompli, this is our strategy, align, not align, we are keep moving and driving. This will not work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To have, the roadmap for the future, but also adaptability to be there.
Adaptive, yes.
Very good. Very good. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and sorry, how do I learn leadership behavior? We can take another question before we are. I would like to go to another topic, but we have a lot of questions, Micheline. Sorry for that. Why does the organization exist? How to align leadership behavior? Jose is asking with those of employees and customers. Communication clarity is needed. Never assume. Go and see or walk by essential. Yeah, it's important also.
How, sorry, I can't see the screen.
How
How?
to, how to align leadership behavior with these employees and customers?
The senior leadership behaviors, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. I guess what Jose is saying about that. Yeah, absolutely.
First of all, we need to have leadership competencies and behaviors that are known, written somewhere, and known and communicated to everyone. If we are working in an organization where there are no dimensions, no criteria, no reference, there is no way that we don't have a roadmap, we don't have a benchmark to go back to that. So once we have that roadmap or these dimensions, it's very important when we create, Nicolas, these dimensions to be driven from the population, the employees, their values, their priorities, their roles, their profile, and the industry where we are working in. So I'm not sure if I answered the question correctly on that,
No, it
Jose.
was perfect. It was perfect, Micheline. Thank you so much for your, guidance. We hope that we answer majority of the question. If we have time, we will answer, those remaining. Micheline, I would like, now to come back for your, company and what you are doing and how to measure leadership effectiveness and when. It's very interesting to know because for me, leadership effectiveness, in my personal, I will share with all of you my personal uh, you know, um, uh, is about effective leadership is as always when I'm applying for a job, right? Or internal in the company. But why we need organization needs to measure leadership effectiveness when is important question that you will try with your slide to answer that.
Yeah, I would like to say something very important before starting that unfortunately in some places or organization when they come to us, we need to say that leadership assessment can never be a standalone approach. It should always be directly linked to the organizational strategy. There is no way that, oh, it's a trend, it's nice to have, it's now everyone is doing it, so let's do it. So it should be derived from the organizational strategy, the business needs, priorities, and initiatives and direction. This is my starting point. So this is where we start asking the question to our organization. Where are we heading? These are strategic questions. Where are we heading in the coming years?
Micheline, one question I have, and sorry I cut you,
Yeah.
is about, you are saying that, and very importantly, that is the business should be leadership assessment should be linked to business. But when that the leaders will see that, okay, now it's time that we assess our leader. What is the point that you see based upon your experience that leaders are saying, okay, now our leaders are not good, maybe our
Yeah.
business is not good, or business, we are failing to the business, and we need, to assess or to elevate the level
Yeah.
of our leadership. Is it in this time that is maybe too late?
It's in many situations. It can happen, Nicolas, when the organization is going through full transformation. Downsizing, expansion, succession planning is needed. We don't have enough people for specific key roles. We are going through a major cultural shift. We need to develop our pipeline because we are going for an expansion and we don't have enough people internally. So either we will be going to recruit people from externally, or we need to develop people because they don't have the needed capabilities to grow the business. So these are the questions we ask strategically to a client or to an organization. Where are you heading in the coming years? And how you will get there with the current capabilities? Are they ready? Is there a readiness of your senior leaders or leadership in general in this organization to go through that journey? And if not, this is the right time to make a leadership assessment. In that particular situation, it is for development purpose. When you are recruiting people, it will be for purely assessment purpose. But in general, there is always assessment, but it will be followed by development. And this is the beauty of assessment, is like, and we don't call them anymore assessment, we call them more developmental, because in some organization, when we say we are assessing leaders, you should see the egos and the resistance, like, oh, I have been in this business for the last 20, 30 years and you're coming to assess me. So we always present it as leadership development through assessment.
And you're absolutely right, Micheline, because in all the research that I'm reading, and I have shared also in LinkedIn, is about development. Development has replaced the assessment. Very true, very true. Thank you for highlighting this based upon your experience, and it's completely true. And I learned something new today. Yes, it's absolutely clear that leaders at 20 years, 25 years, 30 years experience, they don't, it's something that is viewed badly for them to be assessed, but we are learning every day. I'm learning every day.
And I'm learning too every minute. There is something I'm sure you've noticed, and the audience noticed, that sometimes you might have 20, 30 years of experience. You're great technically in your function,
Yeah.
but let's not do the assumption that you have the necessary leadership competencies to lead and to inspire people and to manage them. And people, they go through that trap, like, oh, you're coming to assess me after 20 years. 20 years of technical competencies. Here we're talking, it's a different ball game. Here we're talking about your capacity to inspire people, especially we're talking about C-suite levels.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that. I will take one question before you're going to your next slide. About Andre is asking, can we ever truly measure leadership effectiveness without bias, given that leadership perception is shaped by culture, power dynamics, and personal bias? And, and to what extent do KPIs risk oversimplifying or distorting a leader real impact? Great question. I love that question. Very interesting.
There are actually two questions. I will answer the first one about the bias.
Yeah, in
The
leadership.
bias, yeah, and this is one of the major trap when we are assessing leaders is human biases, and this is another counter argument for people who are now pushing for AI assessment. One of the counter arguments we always have is like, ultimately with time in the future, I'm not sure if we will tackle this topic or not, but in the future, AI will be taking over certain areas in assessment. And one of the arguments is like, with AI, the algorithm will reduce biases more than human beings. The idea, Nicolas, and I guess Andre asked the question, is like, we train people, human being,
Yeah.
to become assessors, and as much as possible, I'm being realistic here, to reduce biases. 100% reduction? I don't think so from my experience, but definitely with proper training, we can achieve a certain less bias and more objectivity. Going back to that also, the more your behaviors and criteria are objective and well written and designed, the more you reduce biases. If your competencies are written in a vague, ambiguous way, definitely there is room of assumptions in that particular point.
Nice, very nice, very nice. Love that, love that. I will take other question after, but I would like you to explain us what is this sixth step that you would like to highlight about most organization needs to take as a checkbox, tick box. You call it a tick box or not? Well,
Not a
Micheline.
tick box for sure. Uh, I will not go through step by step. I will
Yeah.
keep it high level for the sake of the time and to discuss other topics. But this is what we do actually, and this is on a daily basis, is like going into organization. And by the way, we don't have to hire consultant. HR people and human capital, they can do that work. Is like understanding the organization needs,
Yeah.
and taking that population that we want to assess, and honestly running them through x-rays, understanding that population, their needs, their priorities, their profile, their job description, job analysis, and all that, and designing. And this is the beauty, this is my passion, is designing the leadership competency framework that is very much related only to that specific client in that context. So once we design the leadership competency framework, we move to the actual, we are, I guess, here on step number 3, we go into what we call the multiple assessment approach. And this is from SHL. We follow the SHL multiple assessment approach. What does it mean? It means, Nicolas, we don't assess leaders on following one instrument or one technique. And why is that? We have multiple techniques to increase reliability of measurement and validity. And we have 3, sometimes 4 to 5 techniques to measure competencies. And the multiple assessment approach, what does it mean? It means each competency will be assessed several times by several trained assessors in different contexts. So I can see it in a case study, I can see strategic thinking in a case study, but also I can assess it for the same individual in a structured competency-based interview or in a psychometric. Once I collect this data, we calibrate with the assessors, and we come up with qualitative and quantitative results per competency for the leader with a very detailed report. And what I like here, we have individual report and organizational report. And the beauty of the organizational report, when the executives or senior leaders or boards, they look at the organizational report, they have the roadmap. It's like you go to a doctor and they do the full MRI and x-rays and exams, and they come up with you like, these are the problems. You have problems with your lungs, you have problems with your throat and all that, and then after that we come with the development.
So, no, love that. Love these 6 steps. And I have a question regarding these 6 steps that you are showing. Which of these 6 steps do you find most prone to failing, into checkbox mode? Is it number one, number three, number
You
three
mean the most important or the less important?
less important for you? Or all of these 6 are, for you, gold for
Yeah.
your assessment? Is a tick box? Any of them is a tick box for you?
No, I'm sorry to disappoint you on that, but
No?
not really, because they are very correlated. And if one step is not doing, we didn't do it thoroughly, it will affect directly, like input output. If one step is not doing, we didn't do it very well and thoroughly,
Yeah.
Nicholas, it will affect directly the full outcome. So I'm sorry to say, I can't really. I don't know. What do you think about it? For me, it's not really. They are all equally important, and I would give the same weight for the 6 steps.
No, absolutely. You know what? I'm a person that love data, and
I know that,
and that's why, for me,
and this
the
is why we follow you a lot.
yeah, no, thank you so much. But number three for me is absolutely important because it's assess, the person, etc. But what is more important for me is number six, to measure progress and impact. And how do you measure progress? I see one of the comment, it was about around KPIs, about assessment. How do you measure this impact? Because what is important, I guess, the leaders or executive coming to you is
Mm.
how we can measure the impact of your leadership assessment, etc. In during the time, short term, long term. What is your, how do you measure that, first of
I
all?
have. I need to be very honest here, and mention something that, unfortunately, as a third party, this is something that we would love to do, but we don't do it often.
Okay.
It's like our role, and this is something that we would love internally. We were talking and debating about it. We would love, one of the things I would love to do is to compare, for example, the assessment results with the performance management results internally run by the leaders. And sometimes we have access to this data, sometimes we don't. So sometimes we have access because we do the 9 books and all that. So we bring the performance management data that are measuring the same criteria. And we say, how come this person, John, for example, scored very low in strategic thinking in our assessment, but scored very high and during performance management after 1 year. And this is a beautiful debate. And again, here we dig more and understand that bias, to what extent internal leaders have been trained on giving feedback, on allocating rating, or they went through all these pitfalls of. To your question, Nicolas, unfortunately, I don't have the answer, and honestly, because we don't do it often. And this, the beauty when you run it internally within your organization. If we have HR people or human capital attending this call, they will have that access to the data post center, which post center our role will be, we will withdraw and our role will be done.
Absolutely. I'm looking also in the comment. People perform differently in different contexts. That's the comments of. It's really
Yeah.
true. It's not a question, but what do you think? Do you agree about that?
To a certain way, yes. I wouldn't say 100%. I would be, if I would say 100%, I would be, I would be questioning a little bit the competency leadership itself. But in a certain way, yes. And why is that? Because I would make it related to the industry itself. In some industries and in some cultures, especially industries, you need to be highly driven. You need to be maybe very much data driven and oriented. In other industries, for example, in consulting, you need to have the analytical skills, the problem solving, the very high drive. If you are in the healthcare, these competencies, you don't have really they are not primary competencies. We call them secondary competencies. It's much more about people. It's about empathy. It's about emotional intelligence. So yes, in a certain way, for each context, we will need different competencies. And people, going back to the person who mentioned that,
Yeah.
people might behave in a different way.
Love that. Love that. The nuance
But,
that you
but
have
I
put.
would like to say not completely. I give a very quick question example here.
Yeah.
If you are customer centric, if you have this competency being a customer centric person, I always say that if you are if you are working in a retail, or even if you are a customer in a hotel or in a restaurant, the same competencies you are displaying. So it's not like I change my competencies wherever I go. They are embedded in me, these competencies. These are traits. So I go back to how we define leadership competencies. They are related to traits, to values, to our education, and all that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Micheline. One word, because we are very, very late, about the timing, about your case study you would like to discuss.
Yeah, if you want, I can go very quickly on that.
Yeah.
It's just we mentioned most of the points, but this is really when we were working in 2025 with a company that in 2026 they are going in 2026 through a major transformation. So
Yeah.
we help them selecting these competencies, and we assessed 15 leaders. If you look at the results, you look at them and they are concerning these results. What the results are telling us, are we ready for this major transformation? No. Why is that? We can see that leading change it is from the highest score to the lowest.
Yeah.
Leading change is in the average. We can see that, unfortunately, working with people, and how can you do a change without people? They are the people who will be doing the change. So
Yeah.
managing resistance, helping them to get the buy-in and all that, it's not happening. So these leaders are not ready. Bottom line, they are not ready. There are gaps. After the exercise, we come up with what are the skills needed. Do we need to upskill? Do we need to develop these people? And this is the beauty of the outcome of any assessment exercise.
Wonderful, wonderful. And if any of our listeners would like to know more, I recommend to go to Phi Management and also to Micheline for more insight and result and discussion. Micheline, we are very, very late about our program. I would like to discuss, as every Friday we are discussing with my guests about the HR
I
news.
will make it very short. Yeah, I will
Yeah.
make it very short.
So about the selection of this year of this week is about new the information about New York Times, um, about your interviewer is a AI, showing how algorithms already taken the lead in screening talent. Michelle, here's my question for you. As AI steps into interviewer chair, what new leadership qualities will matter most for both machine and humans? And how organization prepare to this, shift to AI?
Definitely, it's coming and it's there. We've seen it. We are working with platforms now. We are testing some platforms. With some platforms, we are happy. With others, we are less happy on that.
Yeah,
Um, your first question was, what is needed from leadership? It needs a lot of agility. It needs a lot of less resistance and helping people to feel safe. When we read that Amazon or Microsoft or any companies, solid companies, multinationals are laying off people, it's happening, and people are anxious about their own jobs.
yeah,
So the first thing is really, as a leader here, is to sit with people, to talk to them, to help them understand that. And I always listen to your podcast, and everyone is saying the same, but this is what we have for now. Maybe tomorrow we will change our opinion, but
yeah.
this is what we are dealing. That is helping people understand that AI is there to help them, to support them in assessment, in recruiting, in interviewing. Yes, It will take part of our jobs, my job, your job, and other job, but they will, for the short and midterm, I don't see personally AI fully operating without human oversight.
Wonderful. Bring more
Going
wonderful.
back to the interview, oh, all right.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, but please go ahead if you would like to say.
Going back to the interview, personally, this is my personal point of view, and based on the beautiful article you shared, to be honest, I might see it again. It's not based on research. I can see robot interviewing Gen Z or millennial.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm thinking about our clients. I can't see C-suite level or board members or executives now sitting and making the interview. And there are certain, let's face it, there are certain competencies for now. It cannot be assessed by the algorithm and by AI for till now, I would say. Maybe tomorrow
Wonderful.
it will.
Wonderful ads. Absolutely. Very great point, Micheline, about, it will be for candidates at low level, but at C-suite, it will be hard. Louise, news number two is about UK trial about 4-day week that we heard a lot in UK and mainly, maybe um, also George will tell us because he knows very well about this this working remotely. um, 4-day work week can boost both productivity and well-being. Given the promising trial results, um, what do you think, Micheline, about bold leadership practice and measurement framework that lead organization can adopt to implement this 4-day week? And first of all, do you believe with the
I
four?
love it. I
Oh,
love it. A few months ago in February, I think we had a poll on LinkedIn, the company, and we say one of them was like asking people if they would go for which benefit, and one of them it was 4-day week. Funnily enough, the results were not encouraging at that time. People went to work from home or something else. I love it. I strongly believe. I don't believe in, checking out.
yeah,
Maybe because again, Nicholas, because of the nature of our job, we are consultant after all. Will
yeah.
this apply to hospitality, retail, healthcare? Absolutely not for the operation. But to make it short, yes, I strongly believe. I believe in less fatigue, less burnout, better lifestyle, and I believe that you can do your business wherever you are if you are competent enough to do your work, regardless where you are.
Wonderful perspective. And what do you think, George, about it's your George take as well? What do you think about this last point about a 4-day week, and also your take about the topic of the day?
Oh, my take of today has been absolutely brilliant. It's been great just listening, and I've actually made a few notes myself, so it's great. 4-day week. Um, we hear so much about 4-day week and many other things as well, like remote working and that sort of thing. But it's not just whether it benefits the employee and the employer, it's whether it actually benefits all stakeholders. And that's going to be your suppliers, it's going to be your customers, it's going to be, it's not just those two elements. There are a lot of elements to take in there. And if you're going on to a 4-day week, then you really need to collaborate with everybody to make sure that they are going to get something out of it, as well as just the employee and the employer. You know, um, so yeah, there's a lot there that needs to be looked at. So I was just going to come on to a question that was actually asked, and that was talking about um, leadership, if I can find it, in times of uncertainty. And, a lot of people, this is one of the questions that came up. I think it was by Andre. And it's literally a case of during times of uncertainty, you do have a problem there. And the problem is that there is going to be a break between the past and the future because nobody knows what the future is if it's uncertain and
Yes.
ambiguous. And that causes a problem, especially in leadership, because many leaders are bemused by uh, the discontinuity of that break. And first of all, I think there needs to be perhaps training in leadership as to how you can actually plan for the future, possibly using scenario planning, that sort of thing. But also, if the leaders um, find it bemusing, what about the rest of the employees? They are also going to be totally confused. So I think maybe the employees need to be included in the process of future planning, especially those on the front line. They're the ones that are going to actually see what's changing in the external environment that could, that's going to require change in the internal environment. And all that can be passed up. But again, they need to be trained in what they are looking for. So I think that's a take on a question that was put earlier. But yeah, AI in recruitment, only thing I will say there is that I don't think AI at this particular time, and Micheline has actually touched on this, I don't think that it allows you to look at people's potential. It shows you their skills, what they've done before, their knowledge, perhaps, but it doesn't tell you what their potential is going to be. And I think that is going to still be a human element to assess that at this stage. Who knows what AI will do down the line,
Thank you, George. Amazing takeaway. I will let Micheline for the takeaway, to finalize. And what is now, it was incredible, discussion that we had during more than 1 hour. What is your recommendation for companies for leadership assessment, finally?
I would make it very simple. I would say let's lead with our heart. We've been lately leading with our brain, with our knowledge, with our education. Let's now try to read in a more human way, like someone wrote it in the from the audience, because we are heading towards the unknown, like George mentioned, and I believe that we need to be next to our people. So let's go from that ivory tower and let's forget titles and sit with people and listen to them. So this is my message, and this is from your slides and whatever we discussed today. This is my message to everyone and to myself first. So I keep reminding myself with this message too.
I think that's a great message.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. It was a fabulous discussion. I have a lot of comments. Fabulous discussion. Definitively a lunch and learn. I would like to thanks everyone that is joined this LinkedIn Live. Your thoughts, ideas made this discussion truly impactful. Let's keep this conversation ongoing in the comments, in the chat. Huge thank you to you, Micheline, for your incredible insight today. It was a pleasure to have you. You are always welcome back for another topic to discuss. Thank you for joining. Lunch or Learn will be back every Friday at 12:30 CST time for fresh topic, brilliant guest. If today's conversation sparked curiosity, I encourage you to explore and share this video among your network. Don't forget, you can access today's session recording and revisit the insight you missed. See you next time. Wonderful weekend. Take care. Thank you, Micheline. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending.